What's up, guys? Hey, today we're talking adult memberships, and we're super excited to introduce really a kind of a new system and approach to how we're helping to make adults become more athletic. And I know that might already intimidate some of you as to like, man, being more athletic is that really what I want to happen? And really the purpose of this episode is to really flesh that out. Like, what is athleticism mean, not only for our kids, which I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining, in previous episodes and content about us as a facility in Triple F and how we are an athletic development facility designed to make youth, athletes and youth members more athletic. But, at the end of the day, adults need to be more athletic too. And so what does that look like? How do we actually define that? We're also going to talk about just our class structure, what's new there. We're going to have an awesome kind of point-based system that we're going to cover towards the end just to help keep that motivation high, which is super important in this space of just adults really meeting their physical goals. But to help us accomplish that today, I have Nate Hoffmeister, who's joined us full-time here at Triple F, and Nate's going to really take lead on our adult structure and adult program and really just helping these adults, realize their best selves over time. And Nate's been a blessing to us already as a staff member and someone who's familiar to Knoxville. He's familiar to sport and athletics and training UFC fighters and training adults. I mean, this is just something that he's been doing just naturally for so long that he really seemed like the perfect fit, and we knew would be the perfect fit for taking our adult membership and running with it. So first thing, Nate, is we just really introduce a lot of the new things that we're offering here for adults that we've been excited about, honestly, since day one. Why should an adult want to become more athletic? If you were to answer that question, what is in it for an adult to feel more athletic? Is that something adults care about?
I think so. I think at some point they were probably most of adults were athletes of some form, but I think you have to look at what athleticism is, and most people relate it to sport, but for adults, I look at it like everyday skills that they would use on a daily basis. Obviously, playing with kids. Maybe you want to do. You're a weekend warrior who wants to play in some type of sports league, or maybe it's just really you just like the physique, body structure of what athletes look like, and or you just want to challenge yourself. So I think there's different levels to that, and I think that's why adults should train like or want to train like athletes. And then you always see the videos on social media of flipping tires and all the cool stuff. And it's not just the run of the mill, go to the gym, hop on a treadmill, bang out some dumbbells. So you can get creative, kind of get outside the box a little bit, and it makes working out fun.
Yeah, I think the first way I think about answering that question is I think about myself, and I think you think about yourself, and what are we doing? What are you doing, Nate, to work out and to get more athletic? What am I doing to work out and get more athletic? And the short answer to that is not enough, not as much as I want. I want to still be able to lift close to what I used to lift, but like I'm at a point now as a strength coach that's done this for so long and I've only ever just lifted. I just don't really care about numbers anymore, like how strong I am. That used to matter more than my own marriage, to me at one point. But now it's like, man, I could care less about that. But what I do like doing? I like playing tennis. I like playing pickup basketball for an hour and 17 minutes and not limping, for 2 weeks afterwards, and I like, to learn different sports, like, even golf is not something I've done for very long, but I want to be able to do it and not be terrible at it or not worry about getting injured, but also enjoying that experience. Cause I just think, it's widely accepted that adults still need to have, exercise be a part of their life. And I think, like you said, weekend warrior, really referencing like the recreational, adult from a sports standpoint who really has probably strongly attached himself to one sport already or is wanting to learn some kind of other activities. And in Atlanta, where I was at, I mean, tennis is like a religion down there. I mean, every, you know, uh, HOA and every just neighborhood, they all have these pretty competitive tennis leagues and tennis courts. And, what I see as I kind of observe like that population, of adults, that are, our age, people in the 30s, 40s, even 50s, they want to be successful at those things. They want, some of them want to really compete, and some of them, man, I just want to successfully like do this and exercise well and kind of know what I'm doing and feel confident in it, and there's physical qualities that help accomplish that. but nobody's really addressing those, nor are they really helping to fix like the bad qualities that they currently possess from I still never really rehabbed this injury, properly, or I still, I've never been able to touch my toes, or I've never been able to bend in that way. And I think that's where you start. And I think, with a place like this at Triple F, where all we know is athletic development and how to train athletes, it's not just getting bigger, stronger, faster. It's all these other things that just ultimately make you healthier and improve longevity. And so if you just want to speak to just how we do that, what some of those exercises look like within a class setting, how we kind of basically offer like a semi-private training option for people to really make sure that like I'm getting what I need to be my version of more athletic versus this person over here who's like, man, they already made it. They're already doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm not ready for that yet. So, as we kind of get into what an actual class looks like to address those things, what are some of your ideas and thoughts for how we do that here?
Well, first, I mean, it comes down to our initial assessment and goals kind of session is which we'll talk about when you first come in. It won't be that long, probably 20 minutes or so, but we got to figure out what's your motive of why you want to be more athletic. Mm-hmm. Why are you choosing us over other gyms that have adult type programs that you could go to? And then from that, it'd be tiered. So we have 3 different tiers of our workouts. We have wellness, which we can talk about in a minute. We got function, and then we have performance. So based on kind of where your goals is where we'd set you in a workout. And I try to explain it as it's like one-on-one private training and semi-private mixed together. So in those 3 tiers, each individual should be able to find where they want to go, essentially as a goal. So if you're just trying to lose weight and just be physical, being able to be active, you probably be in the wellness. Function is kind of in between the two. You're kind of good with your body composition, but maybe strength is an issue or that you want to do, or maybe you just have some small goal. And then the performance is really the people who are those who really have something big to compete after, or they just want to challenge themselves. One of the 3. So between those 3 structures, every workout's going to be similar, but the rep range or the exercise will have some modifications or some different challenges for me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's just a different emphasis, which is how we train athletes here. It's
And that's kind of my thought. Like, why train adults differently than athletes, right? I mean, we're all the same. We're all individual. We all should have a goal of some point, an end point. So how do we get there?
Yep. And it's funny, like I think about my wife, who she has her own personal goals and her own motives, and she knows what she wants to accomplish. But in a class setting, she kind of just wants to like just blend in and just like I'm here to get my work in. I know this is all really good stuff for me, and then I'm out, and I get that. But at the same time, like there's nothing like a group atmosphere to really drive just, man, I'd never even thought I could do something like that, but such and such encouraged me to do it. And now, man, like I feel just so satisfied with the challenge that in a social environment probably wouldn't, have happened otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So, and which is pretty common in adult fitness. And adult fitness, with Orange Theory and CrossFit and some of these other options that people get to choose from, and they aren't. Here's Triple F. What's Triple F doing, and how is it different? Like, speak a little bit about how we're able to accomplish really just this individual approach with our 3 tracks that we're talking about, but still in that group setting to preserve just that awesome kind of competitive environment that, it doesn't have to be competitive if you don't want it to be, but it's really helping bring the best out of you every single time, and it's fun, and it's a positive experience.
Well, we have a different point system that we use to try to track, and the idea is that every quarter we kind of have some type of winners based off the tier systems, and some of those are off performance, some are off progress, some are off attendance. So some of the things are easy. Just show up. Consistency obviously equals accountability, and obviously it's what we preach to our athletes, and it's no different with adults. If you only come 2 days a week, start there, try to add that 3rd day, or do some things on your own. We're just trying to build healthier habits over time. And I think inside the group dynamic is you have different levels, but we're all competitive. And if you're here trying to train like an athlete, you still have some form of competitive nature in you. So we do that through some team challenges, through some games like pickleball and skowball, and some of those games that we play with our combine guys. And at the end of the day, I was talking with my group this morning. I feel like we're all kids at heart still. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to bring that out even in our workout sessions. It keeps it fun, it keeps it entertaining, and it's some way competitive. So, and in that, they lose track of the fact that they're actually working out. And I think that is one of the things that Orange Theory and CrossFit have done a really good job is building that tribe of people of wanting to be here. It's that camaraderie, and you may have somebody in a wellness track and somebody who's in the function track. They're still doing pretty much the same thing with a few modifications, but you'll see the person in the wellness track get challenged even more because that's where they want to be.
Yep.
And I think and it's no different than sport. We're always challenged by somebody who is better than us. And if you're competitive, you try to get better because you want to be that person. So trying to take that whole approach or that same approach and add it to this fitness adult program.
Yep. Man, I think about, the assessment side too of what we're doing. And we'll have another episode really where we detail all of what that looks like, but that 20-minute just kind of triage initial, get to know you, what do you want to accomplish, that opportunity right there of like, let me measure some things and see kind of what I need to work on first and foremost, and that allows me to be on a specific track that we recommend. That is something that isn't just a one-time thing. It's something that we do later on. And so when we talk about competition, the next time we do an assessment, the next time we test like that quarterly time where you're, able to earn some more points because of progress that you've made, we're competing with ourselves, and we're competing with becoming the best version of ourselves. And so just in saying that got me thinking about just what naturally happens, I think, for adults. And I'm experiencing this a little bit now where you kind of, mid 30s, late 30s, you start to feel that things are kind of breaking down a little bit. You start to feel like, like a car you've been riding for a long time and maybe, did not treat that vehicle as well as you wish you could have, and what's cool about vehicles, you can just go get a new one, and with us, it's like our bodies, we literally feel like the past mistakes and lifestyle choices we've made just weighing on us every day. And to the point where, most of us kind of have that reckoning of like, I need to make some changes and I need to get better because I know that it's possible for rather than deteriorating over time for me to actually maybe even get better over time. And that just made me think about kind of feeling young again and feeling younger. And to your point of like, we all at one point, for the most part, participated in some sort of sport or physical activity in some sort of athletic realm. And to feel that way again, there's nothing like it. Like I'll always hold this over my athletes' heads, to that, like my vertical should be better than most of them. That's just something that like I'm not as strong as I used to be, but I definitely should be able to jump pretty close to most of the top 15% of our kids, and I don't want to lose that. And as soon as I lose that, I feel like my identity is lost. Or like I can no longer just like step on the plyo mat and just like out jump a kid and be like, yeah, I still got it. But I see it, drop an inch or two, over the course of the years because I'm not doing much. I'm not doing anything. So, and it bothers me. Like there's a psychological impact that it has to know that not only am I not getting better anymore when I used to really prioritize my health and performance, but I'm actually getting worse. And it affects my whole life. Like it affects my just attitude during the day. Like I almost feel like it's some sort of kind of depression in some ways when you just, especially as a strength coach, somebody who's prided myself and also being an example of performance, seeing that I'm not, as athletic as I used to be. And I think we all kind of suffer from that. And I think we all deal with that in kind of our own way, but there's just not a lot of options for a remedy and getting on some sort of track and being part of some sort of system where that's guaranteed to happen over the course of time. If I just show up and if I just do what I'm supposed to do, based on the commitment that I've made, to making this huge change and this investment and becoming my best self and not accepting anymore that I'm going to be just less athletic than I've ever been. If anything, maybe I could be more, maybe my vertical could be higher than it's ever been, in which I know that that's actually a possible statement because I understand exercise physiology. And if I really committed myself, I could probably jump higher than I've ever had before, even, in my mid 30s. But I know that there's a commitment involved in that. And so that's why, when you talk about the point system, the whole point of that point system is to keep you engaged and to keep you motivated and to keep, because that as soon as, 3 months goes by and you have, come to enough sessions to really make an impact and you've made enough changes, the results come through and you're hooked at that point. And it's like, man, thank God I, got myself to do this and I made those changes. And I just feel like there's a lot of adult fitness kind of offerings or programs out there that don't have that built in, but and some of them do, and it's super effective. And we absolutely will have that here. I mean, some sort of way to acknowledge that every time I come in and I punch the clock, I'm stacking days and I'm getting better. And I was successful both in the short term and the long term, and I'm seeing that. So, you know, let's continue to remind people of why that point system exists, and it allows us really to just be competitive, not only with ourselves, but at the end of the day, we're comparing ourselves to others too. We want to know that we're more athletic than maybe at least the norm, or someone kind of in our circle, or something. But we have, basically, Nate, defined athleticism here at Triple F, as you know, and for our kids, it's 9 qualities, and it's elasticity, it's flexibility, it's body comp, it's aerobic fitness. Just 9 things that we say, man, we're dedicated to improving upon, like these 9 traits, and it's built into our assessment. It's really in depth. We score our kids according to standards and how they've done on these 9 qualities, and we're going to see which ones are lacking, and we're going to improve the rest. For our adult program, and we've done something similar. We have 5 qualities, and it's body composition, it's strength, it's power, it's flexibility, and aerobic fitness. And these 5 things, no one on planet Earth could argue aren't, impactful to your life and your physical life, but we're willing to take the next step to actually measure these things. And we're willing to do that on the front end with assessment, and we want to see that progress is being made on a quarterly basis, and kind of audit our own lifestyle choices and audit our own participation. And that's a big part of why the point system exists. But with those 5 qualities and the 3 tracks that we offer of wellness, function, and performance, not all 5 are equally weighted. There's 2 of the 5 that are really important, right now, and speak a little bit on that as to, for a wellness person, which of the 5, do I really have to hammer down and go hard on these now, and why we've built that in the workout.
I think number one is this body composition. That's probably why you're in the wellness track in the first place. You're wanting to lose weight, just feel better, get off your meds, all those things are just going to make you a healthier human being. And with that would be the aerobic capacity. So those are going to be your 2 main ones that we would focus on, which, like you said earlier, it's going to take 15, 20 minutes at the beginning of a workout when you first come in, and then you're going to finish the workout. And actually the aerobic capacity one would be built into the workout, so you're not even wasting a day coming to the gym just to get assessed. And I think those are the 2 biggest ones. And then from there, as you start to go through the tracks, and even if you just stay in wellness for a really long time, we'll start adding in the flexibility. Mm-hmm. And then we'll start looking at some of the other ones just to continue to have things to measure, mm-hmm. so that we can show progress. But body composition, I think it would be the number one. And that's why like I said, that's why you're in there. And you could be, we have some people who are in it right now that are overweight, and their only goal is to lose 20 pounds or 30 mm-hmm. pounds. But in return, their aerobic capacity is going to get better too, and so is their flexibility, because probably some limiting factors of the flexibility test is the body composition, right? So everything plays together in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even with these combine guys that we're getting coming in, what are the first 3 things we got to address right off the bat? It's body composition, it's flexibility, it's how well you move, and it's work capacity, which is essentially aerobic fitness. And all 3 of those things, are where we start. And for those guys, thankfully, they're high-level athletes. We don't have to spend as much time there, and they're kind of ready to move on. We're still doing all the other things, but they're conditioned again. It takes 2 weeks for them after a bowl game, and they've done nothing for 2 weeks to kind of get back in shape and get to where their heart rate's not, through the roof, just doing a med ball throw. Or body comp, it's like, man, we kind of realize, all right, we got to lose some weight before your pro day, and that matters, because these NFL scouts, they're looking at you and your body, and they want it to be and look a certain way based on all their data, and they just know what a DN, who plays 10 years in the league should look like, and they're going to make that decision based on that. And we want to make those adjustments early, and that's usually what has to happen. These things never stop being a priority, but they're of utmost priority on the front end. And then there's some folks, like you're mentioning, in our adult program who just will live there for a while and for a long time, because they just have a lot of progress to make in that area. And that's part of the process of our, kind of 3-tiered point system. Process is one of them. Sure, you get points for coming, but you're going to get points for progress. You're going to get points for making progress in these key areas that have to change now. Like, we can't even think about you jumping higher in a vertical, which is cool to you and you like that, or throwing a medicine ball really far, which is one of the challenges we'll do at a session. Yes, those things are cool and important, but what's the most important thing now? And it's our approach to athletic development too, with our kids. If a kid can't bend or move well, or just can't even make it through a workout, like, we have to start there. And I love that is built in, so that that's protected and that's safe and is prioritized to where they can be successful, knowing that wellness track is exactly designed for them to take things at the pace that they need to take them. And it's not, I'm just, oh my gosh, hopefully I'd sign up for this Triple F membership, and I've seen them doing all this stuff on the internet, and I just hope I can even do a workout. I hope I can even make it, or else I'll be at the hospital. Like, that is not how we operate here, and I want people to understand that, we're going to take care of you. We're going to meet you, and your needs where you're at currently in this moment, not where you were 10 years ago when you felt really good, or, you had an injury that you're still kind of recovering from and it's affecting you. And we want you to feel healthy and better about it, and that's what is so cool to me and appealing to a place like this. Like, somebody especially who's been injured, or our friend, Lincoln, who's, dealing with the shoulder and getting that better. It's like he would want, I'm speaking for him now, but like, he would want to be in an environment where, that like orthopedic injury and those kinds of things are almost common, and we know how to address them. And we know that needs to be fixed, first and foremost, because that's all we know. And that's what we do, because that's that athletic world that we're talking about, versus kind of just, more of an environment where it's just fitness and roll out. Like, that's what appeals to me about an athletic development facility training adults, is that we can really take care of the whole person, because that's how athletes work. That's how performance is. Going back to early conversations with Lee and how we really wanted to make this adult class experience, really good and really satisfying. The one thing I knew we had to have, at least as an option, were heart rate monitors. I mean, there's just something about, and this is me speaking personally, and I'll let you chime in on this too, especially with your UFC fighters and guys that you've experienced, who just really, they have to be in a certain level of intensity, or else we're just not making progress. And it's incorporating these heart rate monitors that, not only am I wearing them, like similarly to how people have Apple Watches and Fitbits that can quickly tell me my heart rate, but it's up on a screen where it's so easy for me to reference it and not only see where my heart rate is, but also see the color and zone that I need to be in, which is really what made Orange Theory Fitness really explode and come on the scene the way it did, because it's pretty straight up. Like, if I'm not at least at this intensity, cardiovascular wise, like if I'm not at least at 80% of my max heart rate, then I'm not getting as much out of the workout as I could be. And if I'm, walking around, I'm in the gray or blue, and I'm picking up the lightest dumbbell, and I'm like, sure, like, I'll leave that session. Maybe I was a little sweaty, but like, I did not get as much out of that as I could have if I stayed in the zone that I needed to be in. And there's a time and place within our workout structure that I'll let you speak on, for when the cardiovascular intensity piece needs to be higher or lower. And if you just want to share how we basically, from minute 1 to minute 60 of our hour-long session, like the template we use, and how the 3 different tracks stay in one more than the other, and how for someone like, who's pretty fit and aerobic fitness is great, they're not prioritizing, the heart rate being high, even though they see it, it's there. They know they're burning a lot of calories because in the zone, they're just trying to get stronger and more powerful. They're trying to kind of go back to their early days of just, performance and competition. Whereas for some people, it's the most significant thing. It's like, I have to get my heart rate there to know that I'm getting as much out of this as I can. So if you just want to talk about our heart rate technology and our system and what we use, and just how that impacts kind of, what track you're in, and our session structure.
Yeah, so we use the Polar device to track heart rate. And every time you come in, you'll get a band with a sensor. You put it on your arm, and then we'll log into the computer, and boom, it pops up on one of our big screens that are on the wall. And from there, you just can watch your heart rate through the whole session. So that's the first thing. And really, it just is, like you said, it's another form of accountability for these people to be able to see their intensity, and then see how many calories they burn. And then obviously, depending on what tier we're in, we'll have some goals for wellness to be in, the blue or the yellow or the red, and each for a certain amount of time. And same way for the function, and same thing for performance. So once they get into those tiers, we will kind of tell them, hey, look, this is our goal for today. Then we also look at, cumulative calories burned for the workout. And just, as we start to go down or time winds down, I'll see there might be 1,127 calories burned through the group. So then I'll be like, hey, look, we're going to try to get to 1,200 and then, try to pick it up last 10 minutes or so just to try to hit a goal. That's just more from just a competitive edge. So that's kind of the overview of the polar and why we use it. And then when you look at our tiers, or our workout sessions, we always start with some form of warm up and mobility. And that looks a little bit different for each tier or for each individual based off what they need. For example, I've got one guy who has really tight calves. So obviously for him, really stretching the backside, those calves out, especially if we're doing some form of lower body lift, is a huge priority. It's not a priority for everybody, but that's really a big concern for him. And then from there, we always have a strength part. That's how we start. So what does that look like from wellness to function to performance? Well, for example, like today we did some form of a split squat. Well, if you're in the wellness, you may just be on the ground with no type of balance. Like we used a BOSU ball and an AirX pad for the other two levels. So started on the ground, then we went to the AirX pad, which is just a foam pad, and then we went to the BOSU for the performance. So all three tiers would have been doing the same exercise with just a little bit of modification. From there, if we have, obviously I think injuries as we get older into adults are a huge priority of looking at as you come into workout. So obviously that stuff would have been done in an assessment, but we can make modifications from there. Sometimes maybe the split squat may not even be an option for them, and then we'll figure out, some other type of lower body that we can try to get the same effect. The interesting thing I think about training like an athlete is, I used to tell my athletes or my coaches this, a hurt athlete is not a good athlete. Like obviously if you can't perform on the field for your team, my job has not been done as a practitioner of strength and conditioning, right, in the weight room. Same thing as an adult. If you can't function at work or can't make it to work or do everyday activities, it does me no good to have you hurt in the weight room. So, that trust level for individuals to really trust us that we have their best interests, no different than athletes. So back to our workout structure, we have strength. So that's the key part very first. Heart rate shouldn't, really depending on where we're at, it shouldn't jump up too much. Then we go to the middle part, which is our athletic movement of some sort. So today we did some change of direction drills, which may seem really odd to some people, but weirdly, everybody loves them. When you get to move like an athlete. So we use hurdles, we use the boxing, the punching bags, we use anything that the med balls, the sleds, all the things that we would on a normal basis with our athletes. Now, obviously that looks a little bit different than what we do with our athletes, but still we did today a change of direction deal with broad jumps to a box jump. All things you probably wouldn't normally do in a gym if you went by yourself. And that's, again, why you're wanting to come to us, because it's different. It's something that's different. So how does that look differently in the tiers? Well, my first tier, I need you to move. I need you not to fall when you shuffle. I need you to pick your feet up and just get some movement, and that's going to elevate the heart rate. Now, as we start going down the tiers, we can start challenging. We can add some time limits to it. We can add some different variables, some reaction stuff to it, depending on what it is. So again, everybody's doing the same workout where no one feels left out or not capable of doing something. We're just going to modify the intensity a little bit or some form of it. And then we're always going to finish with some type of metabolic workout. So today we had one that we started on every minute. So my wellness track, my goal was, hey, look, let's get through this 3 times. Now, my performance track was we were really staying on the minute, five rounds because it's 25 minutes. So that's how it varied. Well, my people in the wellness track, obviously their heart rate were spiking in the red, so we would make sure it came down and then we'd spike it back up. What my job is not to kill them, obviously, in the weight room, right? So one of the gentlemen today, I said, like, if you need a little extra rest, that's fine. But obviously, as we get better through this, we're going to be able to progress through these tiers. And I think the interesting thing about our tier system with levels is you can fluctuate. If no different what we do with our athletes, we have some athletes who are really good or proficient in the Olympic movements, but they may be in our in one level. Well, we can move them down to another level for that movement and then move them right back. And it's the same thing we can do with our adults. So there's a lot of flexibility, and that's why it goes back to that 101 plus semi-group, is that it is really tailored to you. If you have really good aerobic capacity, so that metabolic at the end is not really that big of a deal, then we'll challenge you. I'll move you down to, let's try to get 4. Let's bridge. Let's go between the two, even though you're really up in the wellness track. So, but then also injuries happen, life happens, right? And you fall off. Maybe goals change. So we can move you through those different levels, kind of as you go, as we base off the assessment.
Yep, that's really good. And a couple of thoughts that I had just as you're talking through, really meeting the individual's needs within a group setting, just something I've done my whole career as a strength coach. This is what all sports teams and sports performance coaches deal with. Like, I have a whole volleyball team right here, okay? But I know that there's individual needs within this group. So it's like semi-private training almost, but in a team-based, setup. And, with individuals, I've always abided by a 3 down, 3 up rule with regards to movements. Like, here's our movement that I really want us all to do because it's going to make us better. But I need to have 3 ways to make it harder and 3 ways to make it easier, and that's just lack of a better way to put it. People understand an easier version versus a harder version, but obviously there's so much more into that. In some instances, it's less balance is involved, like you said. In some instances, it's more weight, it's more reps. And those are really the basic ways that you can make something, more challenging. But then, like, if anybody walks into our room and we have a movement, that we're programmed in for the workout, like, we're going to be able to dial that up or dial that down based on needs. And for most people that are new to this kind of workout and this kind of training and, or haven't done it in a long time, like, we're going to stay in kind of one area for a while just to make sure that we've got that movement, down before we dial things up. We're not going to rush that process and just dial you up just for the sake of doing it or dial you down. And we'll be able to kind of speak to and know, it's like, look, I know feels like it's really hard for you right now, but like, I know you can do this other version. Just trust me, and just having somebody in your corner in that way that just, we've done this for so long that we know, given what we know about that adult and their experiences and their health history, like, we know what they're capable of doing, and just challenging them to kind of rise up to that at the right time, right? And that's what you get in kind of a semi-private, individualized program, is knowing these members so well and for so long that we really can meet their needs in session, based on all the different tracks and modifications we have for exercises, especially when you got somebody who's got, like in my situation, my right knee has got issues, but my left knee's fine. So, just like, it's a point of frustration for me when I try and do something that, like, it hurts my knee when I try and do it, and then I get mad. And then to me, that was an unsuccessful session, especially if it's something I really want to do. But there's so many alternatives, right? Like, if I just swallow my pride, I'm the strength coach who knows thousands of different movements and exercises. I just got to convince myself that, like, man, this other version is just as good, if not better. I need to do this instead. It's better for me, and we really take pride in our ability to do that here. Like, we want everybody to be successful all the time. And one of the things I wanted to say on that note too is, just as you talked about the structure of our workouts, how we choose exercises really comes down to just us wanting to be movement based and have everything we do revolved around movements. And so when you think about doing a more athletic thing, like you talked about with change of direction, it's because I'm moving in a plane of motion that I hadn't moved in a long time, and it feels crazy and weird that I'm going sideways because I haven't done that in a long time. In the course of my day, I sit down, I stand up, I twist, I turn. But rarely do I go sideways in the shuffle. But when I'm playing tennis or when I'm trying to play pickup basketball on a Sunday and not die, like, I do those types of movements. So why am I not doing that more regularly during my daily routine? So yes, I am encouraging people to shuffle in their kitchens, but in the scope of how we do things here, like, these movements that are so good for you, that you just never do because you would feel awkward or just don't know that you're doing them right. Like, we do those here, and we want to make sure that your body is not closing it in on itself from a movement library standpoint, but we're actually expanding that. And we're learning how to do all these different movements. And that's why I just have so much respect and love bar and Pilates and all these other kind of areas of strength and fitness that are just so good for everybody. I don't personally love doing bar, with my wife, but, like, I know how good it is for me to do some of these activities because I just never give that part of my body the attention it needs to stay limber and healthy, and so I think this is a pretty common statement that most people have heard many times, but movement is medicine, But there's a lot of workouts and programs out there that really focus on body parts, or really focus on only the cardiovascular system, or only focus on cleaning and push pressing. And lifting a ton of weight in a fast amount of time, but you're neglecting this whole area of health that's expanding how well you move, and that's, in my opinion, what's going to reduce pain and ultimately just lead to you just feeling pretty better, confident with yourself. But we're still bringing in these competitive elements that people want, and that's what's cool. We're trying to really allow people to do exactly what they want within the realm of kind of athletic development as an adult. And so I think what I want to finish on, Nate, as we close down this episode is really focusing on kind of the family atmosphere that we have here. And so, we've been open since September 19th. We've had some pretty loyal adult members, that joined us pretty early on, and just what they mean to us, and how they're basically like family now, and why that's so important to us, and how we want to always be different in this space in the way that we treat our members and our people. So if you just want to talk about in session, just kind of camaraderie and the ways that we, are connecting, on a deep level if people want, just really try and support each other as much as we can, but, generally feel like we're family around here, and why that's so important to us and how we do that.
Well, I think, life is built off relationships. I mean, really, it's how well you communicate with people, and it's really who you know, right? So, relationships is a huge part of things that I enjoy, just learning about new people. And so that's why I enjoy the adult members, because they always some form of a story to tell, that's for sure. But during sessions, especially when we start having multiple people get in a group, it's always me walking around, just, checking on, making sure. But then it's also hearing about, what their weekend was like. And I think that's just big about them wanting to come to tell and be excited. And I think, too, one of the things that I want to make sure that people understand, like, we're not just celebrating their wins inside the weight room and inside this facility. Like, like you said, with family, we celebrate kids. We go to their signings. We do those things. Well, it's no different than anniversaries and birthdays and that for adults. And we'll do things for them that way. And I think that's what will make us different, is that we actually, people will say this, I know, that we care about the individual, but we truly, like, you are family. We do things that are outside of necessarily just the workout. I had one gentleman today say, man, it'd be cool if we got some adults together and just came over here and just played like a pickup game, or we could have a tournament of pickleball. So I was like, man, if you want to do that, we can do that. Like, we've got plenty of time. We got plenty of space. So I think that's the unique thing about Triple F, is that it truly is, it's part of one of the F's, right? Family. And we love on our members. Like, I had one member who I didn't see for 3 days, who's been a routine Monday, Wednesday, Friday guy, texting. And then he told me about he had some truck problems, and then he got sick. Perfect. I just wanted to check on him, make sure you're okay. I hope to see you next week. And he said, I will. And he was. He was there the next week. So it's constantly having contact with these people, to check in with them, to see, hey, how can we continue to help you on your success? Is it education? Can we help educate you some more on this area or this area that's going to help bring just another level of accountability, and, like I said, another notch towards success for you? Because health and fitness is an area that we all think we really know, but we really don't. There's so much to know about it. And I think one of the parts that I really am excited to try to encourage with our social media part is just the educational piece of nutrition and that type of thing, and to help people understand that it's more, you can't out-train a bad diet. We know this from an athletic standpoint. People always try to. The same thing as an adult. And look, it takes some time. So, like, give it some time, give it some grace, give yourself some grace, because if it's the accountability and the consistency that's going to equal the results.
Yep. And we want to be that constant in people's lives. We want to be those people in that place where, we don't change. We're going to continue to give you our best all the time. And whereas this world around us is pretty crazy, like, you know what you're getting with Triple F every time you step in this place, and the way that Heather smiles and talks to you and treats you, and the way Nate really asks you that other extra question of, like, hey man, what's going on? Like, those are the things that's just who we are as people. More than just this place and this brand. Like, that's just speaking to us as coaches and people. So I appreciate you being on this call, Nate, as we just flesh out just all the new and exciting things we're adding to the adult program. And I'll just say this, man, you don't want to miss out. Like, you want to be a part of this place and this environment, and how we go about making adults more athletic, which is our goal.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be something special and unique for this community, so I'm excited.